Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to accounting professionals who own and operate their own successful accounting, bookkeeping, tax businesses. This is intended to give you the tips, tricks, the suggestions, the input and direction that you're looking to actually offer quality accounting services and get paid what you're worth. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them start and build their accounting businesses. I've made many friends along the way, seen incredible success stories, and I'm here to share what I have experienced with you so that as a listener, you can apply these things in your business. My guests each and every week happen to be experts in their own rights, with stories to share and input for you to consider as you're running your business. Each and every week, I release a podcast episode, so I encourage you to subscribe and take advantage of the notifications so that you can stay up to date on the various releases and get access to the newest as well as the previous episodes so that you can listen to those and apply them in your companies. Now, as for topics that we cover, each and every week we're addressing things that range from marketing and selling, pricing, onboarding clients, training staff, offering quality accounting services, and various other topics that you'll find relevant to you as you're running your business. Today, I have a guest that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. He's someone I've been looking forward to having on the show. This is Chris Palucci. He is the Alliance Manager in the mid-market space for Tipalti. He has been working in the financial technical space for 7 years to help organizations improve their processes and increase their efficiencies utilizing a robust tax stack. Now, with regards to this, he works with CPA firms, bookkeeping firms, consulting firms that are looking to bring value to their business and, more importantly, to their client base. For high-velocity businesses, Tipalti allows customers to wipe out about 80% of their payables efforts, enabling them to focus on business strategy. It's the ideal upgrade from an AP automation product. Tipalti maintains a 98% customer retention rate with over 2,000 customers to their name. So with that, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. How's everything going?
It's going great. In fact, it's a beautiful day. The weather's going to be amazing this weekend, and business is good. So I'm healthy. I can't complain.
Oh, that's fantastic. I wish I could say the same for the weather here, but spring is upon us. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share with the audience, what I've experienced, my conversations with other accounting firms. So yeah, let's get started.
Let's do that. So here's how I'd like to begin. The first thing is the term tech stack. I'm sure most people are familiar with that, but in your own layman terms, what would you describe a tech stack to be?
Yeah, tech stack is just your basic tools that you're using, whether that's a software or online service that you've either accessed through a web browser or downloaded to your computer that you are using to manage your day-to-day business. And some people operate with one, a full ERP system like a QuickBooks, and they're managing their entire business through that. Or they're using multiple platforms like a Tipalti, like a Tesorio, and including their NetSuite accounting platform. So having a tech stack is, depending on your client base and who you're targeting to find solutions for, is super important to know what's out there in the market to use for your clients or to have your clients use, and versus what's good for their business and what's bad for their business. And bringing value to those clients, knowing what solutions are out there. The more options you give, the better is what I always say for the accounting firms and consulting firms I work with. And you may need one day, you may need another one another day, but at least you have them all in your back pocket and you know which ones are best for each use case that you're applying it to.
I appreciate that explanation because for some people, the word tech stack can be like daunting, but at the same time confusing. So what I would add to that is when you're considering the fact that years and years ago, accounting professionals were using paper. I mean, it was journals, ledgers, it was having that visor on, maybe an armband, and you're sitting there writing down each of the transactions and literally doing the books of the business. Today, we're using various software applications to basically manage the company, and it begins with the email. Are you using Gmail, Outlook? What platform are you using to run your email correspondence? It's the CRM that you might be using to manage your contacts that you're actually working with. It's the accounting software that you've chosen to use to do the work that you're providing, whether it's QuickBooks, Sage, Zero. It's just what's that platform you're using to serve the clients that you have. And then, as you were describing, the tech stack expands beyond that to say, what are those additional tools and resources that integrate with that accounting software, that automate your process, that provide you a project management or a system to follow for your clients to ensure everybody's getting the same services from your business. It's all of those things intertwined and used to run the company. Now, here's the next question. Is there a difference between a tech stack application that is used internally for the business versus one externally that we're leveraging to improve the client relation or what the clients are experiencing, meaning how we're communicating with the client, sharing documents, communicating information? Do you see a difference between the two?
I do and I don't. So there are platforms out there where you can speak in real time to your client base and see what they're doing. An example of that would be like a partner relationship management software where let's say you, Roger, became my partner for business and you wanted to see all the leads you sent over to me, and I want to see all the leads you sent over to you. You have the ability to utilize that platform, see where those leads are in the sales cycle, if you will, right? And then check your revenue share, whatever kickbacks you might be getting from that technology you've partnered with or whatever business you partner with. So there's ones that you have real time access into, and then you have your internal tools, of course, right? You have your Monday.com where you're just internally collaborating with your cross departmental teams or other project management teams to track projects internally so everybody can stay on the same page. So it really depends on what your business is doing or how you're managing your business and how you're working with your external partners or your external clients and how you want to work with them. What do you see going into the future of working with your partners? Do you want to continue to just do things the way you've always done them? Or do you want to find ways to improve upon what you're doing to maybe double your output with doing the same amount of work just by utilizing the other tools that are out there in the market to help you bring value to just your firm, but to your clients as well?
Good. When I'm working with my clients, one of the things that we always try to do is we look at the application and we just ask ourselves, is this something that our clients would have an interaction with? Would they experience it? Would they need to have a login to it? Would we have to train them on it? Or is this internal? Is this something that only we within the office are going to be utilizing? So that's one question we're asking. And then the other question is what is this bringing to the relationship? Is this streamlining something, accelerating it? Is it organizing it better to ensure that we're not having mistakes? Is it causing us to have more of a systemic process that is easily trained so that we ensure that the clients are getting the same service each and every time? What's the intent of this? And those are some of the questions we ask. So that brings me to a question about this term fintech solution.
Mm-hmm.
What does that term fintech mean?
So fintech is just short for financial technology. I guess people around the industry decided, shortening down and making terms smaller and catchier was the way to go, right? And that's the way of the modern world. And the way us in America have always been doing things is find acronyms for everything or shorten down the words. And the military does a great job of doing that too. So, that's what fintech actually means. It's financial technology, but that's a broad category of solutions, right? Financial technology could be as simple as just your online investing tool. It could be your bank just setting up a banking portal. You have so many different avenues of financial technology that Tipalti is just a piece of that. Tipalti is a payables piece of that. That's your whole AP solution. But then there's accounts receivable solutions. There's accounting softwares. There's investing softwares. There's insurtech softwares. There's a bunch of stuff that falls into that fintech bucket that you don't even think about, even on the fraudulent side of things, right? Detecting fraud, preventing fraud. There's so much out there that you can tap into to find the best solution just for not just for your business, but for your clients as well. And when you're thinking about the broader solutions how do you want to fix your clients' problems, right? You go back to that. What's going to bring the value to my client? I don't want to bring something in if it's going to when you're setting up Christmas lights on a tree, you pull out one light bulb, they all go out. You don't want to make that same mistake with software solutions you're bringing in too. So this is where your value as the accounting firm or the consulting firm comes into play. You're vetting all of this out for the client on their behalf so that they don't have to pull out a light bulb and the rest of the string goes out because they tried to fix one problem and it affected three things down the line that you didn't think was going to happen until you've gotten in there and actually implemented it.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to this idea of automating or systemizing things, I can definitely admit that for a smaller firm with few employees or just that sole entrepreneur that's the lone accountant, tax preparer, bookkeeper, they may be looking at this whole idea of going paperless as being kind of like a challenge, right? In their minds, they see themselves as knowing what to do and what has to happen. And they've maybe got a small team of people that have an understanding of what takes place in the business. And for years, there was this paperless push, but I think there's something beyond that. We're looking at what can we do to automate, to streamline. We're looking at time efficiency things, but we're also looking at redundancy. What can we do to ensure that if an employee leaves, goes on vacation, it moves on, we're not in a position where that knowledge of how to do the work leaves with them, that we've got a system in place that someone else can step in and ensure that the work is done the same way with that redundancy. What are some of the other motivations you see as to why someone would want to automate some of the work that they're doing? I mean, the employee's probably looking at his job security. If I'm doing it, at least they need me. So why automate?
Yeah, I mean, job security would be the last thing I would worry about. And I know that sounds kind of backward because when you think automation, you think, all right, job elimination. But what you really should look at it is I'm enhancing what I'm doing. I'm 3xing my job output. I can do three times more now than I would if I didn't have this solution in place. So think about how much more output you can do. You know, if I can reconcile the books for 10 additional clients, that's 10 more clients I had before that I wasn't servicing because I didn't have the bandwidth. Now with this platform or this service or whatever it might be that you're using within your technology stack, you can double your output, increase your revenue streams. So automation, from what I've seen, has helped a lot of businesses, not just from the job security standpoint and increasing what people can do it and with the same amount of headcount or adding additional headcount and 4xing their work, right? So streamlining, I've seen from other clients would be, the redundancies that you were just talking about. I had a partner that was working with this client who had processed 4,000 invoices a month. That's a lot of invoices. That's a lot of paper, and it's currently a paper process. And they are also doing what's called PO matching or purchase order matching, and they're matching that PO to the invoice to make sure that the amount that they requested on that purchase matches the bill they received. And somebody's going through each one of those to match them up with their eyes. There's technology out there like Tipalti that will do the PO matching for you and will only flag the stuff that is actually a problem versus you having to go through, probably 400 pages of stuff that was already correct. So why do that when you can easily automate that process and make your job more efficient? And then you can focus on the things that actually matter about your business. You can collaborate with your CFO or your CEO or whoever else it might be, maybe it's your client, on how can we generate more revenue rather than spending 20 to 30 hours a week or a month just processing paper. Who wants to do that? I don't.
So what you just did there is, I think, illustrate very well why this is so important, because I do believe that there is some sense of job security that a lot of people will use as pushback. They'll say, it won't do it as well as I do. There's this issue with technology sometimes simply because of a learning curve. But at the end of the day, as business owners, I think we need to recognize, one, there is an efficiency issue. At the end of the day, if you actually manage the system correctly, it'll actually be more accurate, have fewer errors than what we humanly bring to the equation. But one of the things that I also want to bring in is with the efficiency, which then results in hopefully either a greater bandwidth, as you mentioned, or it also increases profitability because we're able to defer those costs to more clients. But one of the things that I think is very helpful here is just the fact that we're now systemizing the work. One of the big parts of business is the more that we can systemize, create processes for, automate, just really increases what the business is able to do. It increases revenue, increases profit margin. It causes us to actually have a business that is now more independent from a lot of the individuals that are previously involved. Now, that being said, why would CPAs, accounting professionals, see these financial tech type solutions as being an integral part of their business model? Is there something that you can illustrate that shows why this became a game changer for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So a game changer, here's an example of a digital type customer. And a digital customer, for layman's terms, is anybody who has an online marketplace or is a streaming service, and they have brand ambassadors all across the world. A, a system like that, like a Tipalti, gives that organization a way to pay out 2,000 different influencers or individuals all across the world without you having to cut checks, figure out the foreign transactions and how to change that currency over from US to Great British pounds or whatever it might be. That's one example of bringing on a financial technology solution to help you with that problem. Another AP solution, again, going back to the paper processes, eliminating 20 to 30 hours a week. And as you started off on the introduction of this podcast, was we reduce on average 80% of the workload in the AP department. That's a huge time savings. And, time is our biggest value that we can add to any company or any one person. That's the one commodity you can never ever get back, no matter how much you try to cut back on, whatever you might be doing throughout the day. Uh, Time savings is invaluable. You can't get that back, right? So that's one of the things we solve for is time. We help you save time and increase the ability for you to focus on the things that actually matter in your business rather than having to cut corners on payables just so you can focus on your receivables once a month. And um, hopefully that answers your question.
It does. No, you've actually given the answer I expected. The biggest value add to a business is the time savings. And when you consider that payroll is typically the biggest expense and you're saving time, you're either increasing efficiencies so that you're now able to take on more clients and do more work and generate more revenue with the same expense, the payroll. And that time efficiency is that exponent that really, if you could really impact it in a positive way, wouldn't you do it? And that makes sense to me. So, can you give me an example of what is the biggest time savings part of what Tipalti brings to the equation, just since you're familiar with that, as to accounts payable? I've got a bill, I've got to pay it. You mentioned, 4,000 of these. Well, they were doing 4,000 before. What all of a sudden happens when you bring Tipalti into the equation? What kind of time difference are we looking at?
Yeah, so that 80% in reductions is over the course of the entire payables process. So as your suppliers and vendors are supposed to give you their tax information, and you're chasing that down at the end of the month, we're collecting that on the upfront through our portal, through our supplier onboarding portal. They would be able to submit the bills through that portal to you directly, so you don't have to them process all of those 2,000 or 4,000, or even if you're doing like 50 invoices a month or 100 invoices a month, and that's still a low volume count, but it's still very taxing to get through all that information and do the PO matching. Our system will read all of those invoices, match the purchase orders to those invoices, and only flag the ones that our system will see problems in. Maybe you got the wrong pricing down. Maybe they're the dates off. We'll flag that information from the invoices or the purchase orders, alert it to you in the system. So you're saving time on having to chase down supplier information. You're increasing your transparency between you and the supplier and you. They have now visibility on where their payment status is. Hey, when am I going to get paid from you? They don't have to call you up 1,000 times. Hey, where's my payment? They can just log into the supplier portal and see that. So now you're saving time on having to not have that phone conversation with the supplier or vendor on why a bill hasn't been paid yet. You're also saving time on collecting those invoices. It's already coming into the portal. You're seeing that through your email. You can approve that through your email or through the platform itself. So you can be on the go. You don't have to be in front of your computer while approving invoices. And then you can schedule the payments right through the platform. So then you schedule that payments. Let's say you need to pay 100 bills. You can schedule that payment for 100 bills. And if those 100 bills, out of those 100, 75 of them need to be ACH, another 5 need to be wire transfers, the rest need to be paper check. We will do all of that on your behalf. So Tipalti stands for we handled it. And that's a Yiddish term for we handle it, and we will handle it for you on your behalf. And so we'll save you time there on having to call the bank to make a foreign transaction change from U.S. to Great British pounds. We'll save you time on having to cut the check. We'll do that for you. We are a licensed money transmitter. So we open up a for benefit of account on your behalf to make these payments on your behalf.
Well, first of all, just as a total tangent, did you just tell me that Tipalti is a Yiddish term?
Yes, it stands.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that and this is one thing that most people don't know, and it stands for we handle it.
Well, I can add Tipalti to my Yiddish vocabulary and say I've increased my words by 1. So that's good. I like that. I've got more, but I'm going to say that my vocabulary is increased by 1. So that's good. So regarding the description of what you just shared, one of the things that I think is so important, and you were using the example of obviously Tipalti, and that's valid, but any of these types of platforms, one of the things that I think is helpful is realizing that the software then causes us as users to follow best practices. There's usually like an onboarding process, as you were describing with the clients, setting up the account. And what we're doing is rather than having an employee say, oh, okay, I need this, but you don't have it, so I'll just kind of push you along through the system and then forget that we never got a specific bit of information. It's basically causing best practices to be followed. It's causing us to make less errors simply because we're involving in this case, the vendor as you were describing them and them setting up their profile. Well, if they're putting in the address wrong, it's their fault, not our fault. And then the other thing that I like about this is there are some common mistakes that the system is going to find for us that maybe as humans we're going to overlook and not notice. And so it's hopefully going to catch errors or issues that need to be addressed sooner. Mm-hmm. And then everything else gets automated so that it can be processed faster. So here we are with following best practices. We're, in addition to following the best practices, we're streamlining the process. And then we're also catching errors faster, addressing the things sooner. And then lastly, automating everything so that they process more quickly. That's a win upon a win upon a win. And so I like that. So what happens when I'm, as a user, considering such a platform? I've got 2 considerations. Learning curve. Obviously, I've got to learn a new system, learn a new platform, set it all up. There's that learning curve. How long does that take? And then the second thing is there a way to determine ROI? Is there an easy way to assess whether or not I'm large enough, busy enough to warrant, in your case, let's just talk about Tipalti, because this is a question you should be asking with every platform, is what's the learning curve?
Yes.
What type of time commitment do I have to take in order to come up to speed to make its platform useful in my business? And then the other is ROI. Am I large enough, doing enough transactions in this case to warrant such a system? Help us answer those 2 questions.
Yeah, I love those questions, and I think that's if there's any one takeaway from today's conversation, especially for the audience, whether you're an accounting firm, you're a consulting firm, or a bookkeeping firm, and you're looking for solutions to find for your clients, those are the most important questions you have to ask these technology companies, because that's going to be indicative of how quickly it's turned around, how quickly you're going to see the ROI, and how quickly they're going to see those results from you suggesting these solutions to them. So yes, great questions. With that being said, I can only speak for Tipalti, but our team we have an implementation team Your hand is held all the way through from the time you're with your salesperson. You'll go to your implementation manager. We do a pre-implementation check to make sure that your system is ready to have Tipalti implemented into your environment. We make sure that you have a team or a person or somebody that's ready to walk along and make this implementation of Tipalti a success. So we have that implementation team. The average turnaround time for us, it's about 4 to 6 weeks. We've seen it go as quickly as one. We've seen it go as slow as 10. It really depends on what your bandwidth is, what resources you want to apply to getting this up and running quickly. And then on the once you've implemented it, we have the client success team, right? So you'll get a 30, 60, 90-day check-in, and then someone's there along with you on a quarterly basis to check in to make sure that the program's running well for you, that it was implemented properly, that you don't have any questions. So our customer success team and our customer service team is best in class as far as financial technology is concerned, from what I've seen across the space. As far as ROI, you'll see that very quickly. And I would say within 1 to 2 months of once you're at full ramp of using it, and the ramp time could take that 30, 60, 90-day period. But once you're at full ramp, you'll start seeing ROI pretty quickly.
I appreciate that. One of the things that I realize is obviously you're speaking for Tipalti in this sense, and rightfully so. So let me add to this conversation just an illustration that I'm having right now with a client of mine. They coincidentally are implementing within their own company a new software. And as they're implementing this, they're going through the same challenges I've personally faced within my own company. And it's first and foremost this: the business owner, they're usually the ones sold the platform. They're the ones that are kind of explained, here's what it is, and they make that purchase decision or this decision to implement and roll out this new platform. And what we all experience, my client, myself, is we get excited about the potential, the opportunity. We see the reason, the application of this and how the company will benefit. But there's the buy-in of the employees. It's one more headache for them. It's one more thing they've got to learn, one more thing they've got to use. And so obviously the business owner, myself, my client, in each of our situations, what we're experiencing is a great deal of enthusiasm that just falls on deaf ears. And so the first challenge that I've seen is definitely the training and implementation, the utilization of that new platform. And for my client, because they're currently right in the thick of this, they started the first of the year. They're just 2.5 months into the rollout. They've been very pleased. And in their current situation, they were excited about it at the owner level. At the employee level, they have each and every week, I think it's 2 1-hour training sessions that are done with a onboarding person from the platform. And they have found that those have been very, very helpful. Each of those meetings have consisted of a Q&A. And then with that came some training videos. They record the trainings that they do with the person as well so that they can go back and review them. But for my client, this experience has been a favorable one. They've actually enjoyed the rollout of their software. And it's done as you were just describing. It's helping the business actually go through a learning curve that they can, in the end, see the useful application of that platform in their business model and embrace it, want to use it. And then as for the ROI, as you were describing, they expect to see the ROI, as you just mentioned, within a few months of the rollout. And so I would expect within 6 months of the decision to launch, they should be seeing that the data's in there, everything's been mapped and situated, that they're now utilizing it and starting to experience the benefits of it. And so if we go in with the mindset that 6 months in, we should see the benefits, we should see the data, we should see the time savings coming in, I think that's a realistic expectation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a definite realistic expectation.
Good. All right. So now let's talk about how a supplier and a vendor onboard differently, because you brought all this up. I think that'd be a natural next question. What's the onboard experience for us when we're deciding to use it? But now we're forcing all of our clients, our vendors, to now have to use it. What's that like for them?
Yeah, so I don't like the word force, and then because there are suppliers and vendors that are still stuck in the old ways of not being automated, doing the paper processes. They love sending out those paper invoices. So we never force any of the vendors and suppliers that we work with or our clients work with to use the portal. So if they want to send in a paper one, that's fine. And your clients or you as the accountant or bookkeeper or CPA, whoever you might be, you can upload that right to the Tipalti platform. So they're not have to sit in this supplier onboarding portal and upload all of the invoices and bills directly to you. So there's that piece, and then with the onboarding and suppliers of our suppliers, they go through a 26,000 point check to make sure that they are who they say they are. They're providing the right business information. They're providing the right payment details. We also allow them to pick how they want to be paid, right? That's different amongst the market. So, we have 6 different payment methods. You can offer them 1, you can offer them 2, you can offer them 5. It really up to you on how you want to offer payment to that vendor. If you only want to offer ACH and paper check, you could do that. If you want to only offer wire or ACH, you could do that too. If you want to offer all 3 or more, you're more than welcome to do that. We also collect, which is super crucial and super important, and this is on the compliance front. We help keep clients compliant. We collect that tax information on the upfront. We're collecting the W-9s. We're collecting the W-8s. We collect TINs from 50 different countries as well. So it's super important that we're collecting that on the upfront, because I'm sure many of you on the call right now have had to chase down tax information after you've paid the bill at the end of the month, and you paid that bill at the beginning of the month. Now you're trying to chase down the vendor and supplier for the tax information to then reconcile that vendor and bill. How much time did you spend doing that? How much time did it take you to actually get that person on the phone and finally get them to send that information over to you, right? So we eliminate the time it takes to have to track that down, and we're making sure we're capturing it all on the upfront. We've partnered with KPMG to help build out that user interface. So let's say you have a supplier in California and you have a supplier from Tennessee. That form is going to be different to both of those vendors, and when they fill it out in the supplier onboarding piece of it, you do have the ability to fill it out on their behalf, again, if they are stuck in their old ways and they only want to send in paper bills.
Well, what you just described there is what I've experienced. One, you're talking about Tipalti specifically, and that's rightfully so, because the clients that we all have may not all be excited about this, and you've got in your system a way to still utilize the platform and incorporate them, even though they're not participating. But at the same time, I like the fact that it's customized for each of them, in the sense that they're able to see that this is applying to them and helping them, and hopefully giving them the information they're wanting in the end anyways. That's helpful. But as for the word forced that I used earlier, just as a comment on that, I mentioned that we're in the process of, or have been, and are right now implementing a new platform. And what I've experienced is 1/3 of the people, the employees in the company, they're ones to quickly embrace it. They're excited about a new system. They like technology. They're eager to learn something new, and they can see the potential of it. I've got about 1/3 that are just indifferent. They'll do whatever. It's just like, okay, whatever. I guess we're going this way. So they're not excited about it, but they're definitely not a problem. But I do have 1/3 of my employees that they are reluctant. They don't do the training. They're slow to use the system. They comment on how it used to be better, and they just don't see the upside. They don't see the potential, and they just happen to be that nature of, I like doing it the way I was doing it. And so there is this 1/3 of my office that continually, and it's typically the same people, but more often than not, it sometimes evolves. One person likes one thing better than another. And I'm not trying to say that the complaints are to the extent of needing to let them go. I mean, I'm not definitely dealing with that. But the point is they're just not excited about the change until those who first embraced it start talking to them and sharing why it was a good move and how it's helped them. That these late adopters in the application actually now say, oh, I guess I will. And over time, they embrace it, and over time, the noise they make dies down. And in the end, I would say within about a year, it's now the standard operating thing within the company. This is how
Mm-hmm.
we do the business. This is how it's done. So that's my experience. That's where the word forced came from,
Yeah.
is my personal experience, because I have one particular employee right now that's kind of holding out with an application that we rolled out at the end of the fourth quarter and the beginning of the first quarter. And yeah, she's being not difficult, but she's being obstinate. Let's say that. So this conversation, I think, is amazing. I think it's very important because a lot of times when we bring up the term tech stack, people's eyes gloss over. I know that some people are intimidated by technology. It's working now. Why would I embrace it? I think we've clearly addressed that there are efficiency issues, best practices. There's definitely a way of now leveraging AI and technology to automate and systemize. There's just a lot of benefits and advantages that, for at least us as business owners, are appealing, because we're able to ensure that the work gets done the same way for everyone, and at the same time make sure that there's some consistency, redundancy. We're able to be more comfortable about the process than single employees. And then we can definitely, with the efficiency, leverage those employees over many more clients, generating more revenue. Lots of good stuff here. I like how you've brought in Tipalti. I mean, that's who you've represented as Tipalti, so it's only logical you're going to bring it up. But let's take a moment here and just say, what is Tipalti, and what is it that you do? I guess this is a mini commercial. I knew we'd get to this point simply because of who you represent, but I felt the topic was appropriate. And let's just bring Tipalti in real quickly here. Who is Tipalti? What's an ideal customer? Why should someone consider your services? And when are they at the point that they should see you as a solution?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Tipalti is a fully automated licensed money transmitter for accounts payable, handling the end-to-end processes in your accounts payable department. So we allow businesses to have a full comprehensive payables platform with multi-entity accounts. We have the ability to give you supplier onboarding that is self-serviced and white labeled, and you have the ability to then execute payments, have approval workflows on those invoices, and then finally reconcile, which is the accountant's job, and probably the most important job, reconciliation. We're ERP agnostic. You can plug and play into any ERP that you're using today, and we can do 196 countries in 120 different currencies across 6 payment methods for payments. So, we're best suited for companies. Most people say, hey, what's the employee size, or what's the revenue count? I start at, how many invoices is your client processing a month? I would say start at 50. 50 is where you start to see manual processes become more laborious, and you have more time consumption on the amount of invoices you're processing, right? So 50 invoices a month. We're a mid-market solution. A lot of you probably are familiar with Bill.com. Amazing solution. They're built for the SMB market. And when they're ready to graduate from a Bill.com, Tipalti is the next logical step for scaling and growing. We work with businesses that are scaling and growing rapidly. They have multiple locations that can match our multi-entity functionality. We have the ability to do multi-currency payments and internal transfers within those multiple locations. So if you have a location here and in Europe, you can transfer money from one entity to the other, and change the currency while you do it. And we also work with businesses that are looking to streamline a lot of what they do and eliminate those manual processes of matching invoices. We do all of that for you with our system. So scaling and growing, 50 invoices a month or more. Uh, Businesses that have multiple locations or multiple entities, and businesses that are tired of having to manually do AP work. So I would say that that's the ideal client that we're looking for today.
Perfect. And I appreciate that. I'm sure our listeners were just kind of curious, what is this that I need to be considering? Well, when should I be considering? So I think you've answered that. One of the things that I'd like to just mention, and then I'm going to go a different direction here, is as accounting professionals, one of the things that we need to always consider is that for our clients, they are looking to us, or at least appreciate when we bring to the relationship solutions that can help them in their business. And sometimes they're so caught up in the day-to-day operations of their companies, they don't see or are aware of these types of solutions. And so for us to come in and perhaps be that hero that says, hey, there's a simpler, better, appropriate way to do this, and here's something you ought to consider. I know with my clients, I've gone to the conferences, gone through with the trade shows, spoken to the vendors, and found, this isn't for me, but it's definitely for my client. And to come back and say, hey, I was at the conference and I met this vendor that does this, that, and the other. You ought to give them a call, figure this out. It's been nice to actually over time find that they're able to utilize these contacts that I'm making. And at the end of the day, they see me as that go-to person. I'm the one that has the contacts, knows who to refer them to. And I become more integral to their success as a business because they see that I'm outside of the relationship thinking of them. I'm bringing solutions to them that they didn't know about, and they appreciate me being conscientious of their needs. So whenever we as accounting professionals can kind of step in and be that bridge, we're that much more valued and much more appreciated in the client relationship and can retain them more. So definitely consider learning not only about Tipalti, as we've discussed, but all those others, especially if you're traveling to conferences and at the conferences, maybe avoiding the vendor booth. Go to the vendor area, find out who's out there in the trade show area and what it is they offer. And you may find not solutions for yourself, but for your clients, and you get to go back and actually be that hero, if you will. So some good things there. The other thing I wanted to do here, and this is totally off topic, but I wanted to ask it is, we were discussing before the show how you live up in the Connecticut area. You've been there on the East Coast. So here's some questions. I'm often back there for business, even some personal travels. Give me a go-to food restaurant. What should I have when I'm back there? What's something that I may not know about that I should keep in mind?
That's a tough one because, as you know, the New York City metro area is just beaming and teeming with food. So,
yes.
I mean, if you're into steaks, I love Bowery Meat Company down in New York City. It's a steakhouse that's more forward thinking, and I love their food down there. Anytime you can get your hand, Bowery Meat Company, yes, BOWERY.
All right, that's a new one for me, so that's a good one. Okay.
Yep. Anytime you can get your hands on any soup dumplings, that I've found a myriad of locations in New York City, but I never know the names because I'm usually going with a group of friends. So anytime you can get into a restaurant that has soup dumplings, amazing food there. Especially in Koreatown and the Chinatown areas, you can find some good holes in the walls. And I like a good speakeasy. If you're not looking for food, you're looking for just a good cocktail. There's quite a few speakeasies hiding around New York City. If you're looking to just kind of relax and wind down before going out to eat, or after, or you're looking to wind down after dinner, look for a speakeasy. They're easy and tough to find, if that makes sense, because they're supposed to be hidden. And then if pizza is all things, pizza. There's New York City and the Connecticut area are the pizza capitals of the world, in my opinion. So John's on Bleecker Street is my favorite in New York City. That's my personal favorite. And if you're in the Connecticut area, Sally's a Pizza or Frank Pepe's. Those are the top two that are here. But New York City will always have my heart on pizza. And I know Connecticut's recently said that they're the pizza state, but I'm all on the New York side of things.
All right. So the John's one that you mentioned in New York City, tell me again, what street is that on?
It's on Bleecker Street.
Bleecker Street. Okay. So my daughter literally today is going out to New York with her best friend. And they're spending a few days there. So I'm going to mention that. And then at the same time, my other daughter, she, of all of her places, her most favorite travels are New York as a destination, New York City specifically, and then Hawaii. So she goes from one side of the continent, the lower 48, over to the West Coast there with Hawaii. So great suggestions. Next question for you. If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
If I had a superpower, it would be flying. So I know that's kind of cliche, but I don't like sitting on an airplane scrunched up for hours upon hours on end, and I think it would just be really cool to fly, right?
I couldn't agree with you more. Flying to me is amazing. Mankind for centuries has been enthralled with the bird, the ability to fly, and realize, it's only just been over 100 years that we've now had that capability. And to be able to fly, even if it's maybe with an ultralight or hang glider or something, I think it's just fascinating. So get a pilot's license. I couldn't agree with you more. And technically, if you could be Superman and fly around it and just at a whim fly, that would be pretty impressive.
Right.
How about this? What's something that you're thankful for?
Something I'm thankful for. I mean, every day is a gift, so I'm thankful for today. Be just focusing on today. What value can I bring today? Whether that's to a business I worked with, or somebody I know in my social circle, or even just lending out a helping hand to somebody I don't know. I think being thankful for just being here today is enough for me. And having a roof over my head is a blessing within itself. And having a job, being able to connect with people like you, that's what I love to do. I love to connect with people, and being here on the day to day and being able to do that, that's what I'm thankful for.
That's awesome. I couldn't say it better. The idea of being present and just being grateful, amazing. I just heard an interview with someone that was impacted directly by the war that's going on over in
Hmm.
Ukraine, and they were just talking about things. And in the course of the interview, his comment was, the challenges and the problems that I had in my life prior to this now pale in comparison to what I'm dealing with
Oh
today.
yeah, for
And
sure.
he just kind of elaborated on some of the struggles that before we in an everyday life consider to be frustrations or challenges, concerns that we kind of dwell on. And then he just put
Yeah,
it into context to say, they pale in comparison to what I'm trying to deal with right now.
yeah.
So I couldn't agree more. Just being grateful about the present and thankful for what we have. Nicely said. Next thing, with regards to freedom, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom. That's being able to wake up and not have to worry whether or not I'm gonna be fighting for my life. That's freedom. I mean, yes, living here in America, we have our challenges for sure and things to work out, but we're very blessed to not have to worry about, am I going to survive today? And just going back to that the conflict and what's going on in the European area. I feel for those people that, and especially even outside of that, just people who can't even get the basic necessity of water,
Hmm.
that taking that for granted. Every time you turn on your tap, and you're like, oh wow, I got water today. So that's freedom right there.
Perfect. Well, Chris, it's been great having you on the show. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just cover in a few words here a little summary of what I felt our conversation was, just kind of recapping it all. But I'm going to come back to you for a final word of thought. Before I begin with that, I'd like to also mention a special offer that Chris is making available. So, for all of my listeners, go to the episode description, and in the description, you will find there a way to request a demo with someone from Tipalti, even with Chris himself, where they will actually just find out a little bit more about you, perhaps your clients, find out a little bit about the organization, and then share what Tipalti can actually offer you as a possible solution to your current needs. So, in the episode description, go there, find the information that you could use to schedule that appointment, and take advantage of the opportunity to get to know not only Chris a little bit more, but more importantly, Tipalti and how it can assist you or your clients with your business. In addition to that, what I'm going to do is offer to you some information regarding another thing that you may want to consider with your tech stack, and it's simply the idea of a CRM. It's amazing to me how much time and energy and effort we put into our marketing and sales, and so often it is haphazard. It's kind of clunkish, and what we need to do is find ways to systematize our marketing and sales, and more importantly, leverage things that we can automate as a time saver, which is something we discussed today, to ensure that the work is being done with best practices, and as a CRM, ensuring that we're staying in contact with those that are our potential clients all the way through to getting them as an engagement, a new client that we can be working with. So find out more about the Universal CRM. And it's actually a webinar there that you can attend and learn how you can leverage best practices to ensure that you're taking on and marketing effectively and then retaining them through an effective sales, marketing, nurturing system. So with all that being said, check out the episode's descriptions for today's offers and see what more you can do to leverage these things in your business to, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your company. As a summary of our conversation, one of the things I was excited about in this conversation was just trying to get on top of this technical thing that sometimes can be overwhelming. For a lot of time, for a lot of individuals, it's this question of whether or not the technology is right. Is the timing right to implement it in the business? Is it worth the time to actually go through the onboarding or implementation process? Does there appear to be an ROI? Well, all these questions are valid questions, and I think we've addressed a lot of these in the conversation today that should, in the end, actually help you as you're evaluating different software applications, evaluating different platforms, to know whether or not these are things that you can use internally to improve your business and what you're doing internally to work through the work that you have, make sure it's done properly and efficiently, but also to be that hero with your clients and bring to them solutions that can actually help them in their business and the go-betweens with both of you. There's definitely things that each of you can use as a platform where, just like Tipalti was mentioning, obviously you would tie this in and from an accounting perspective have some interactions as they as a client are paying their bills, let's say. So definitely this discussion was very appropriate to kind of wrap our heads around how, when, and why to utilize technology and what ways to consider those technological services in our own business. So definitely helpful. I really appreciated Chris with regards to not just Tipalti, but our personal conversation. Love the insights as to where to eat back east, and at the same time, his thoughts regarding not only freedom, but things to be thankful for. I think we always need to keep that in perspective and be mindful of the things that are really going right in our lives. We need to be the positive, optimistic peoples. There's definitely things to be worried about, challenges that we're facing, but I think we're all able to together overcome them and really assist one another, and in the end, have reasons to celebrate. So, Chris, thank you for those insights. What final word would you have today?
Yeah, thank you for having me again. I mean, this is great. We had a great conversation. If I had any final insights, it's just hitting on making sure you're asking the right questions of a technology you're vetting out for your client. Have a set list and use that same set list to every vendor you approach. This way, your results are the same when you're going back to review which one was better. You at least have the same questions in line. It doesn't necessarily have to be an RFP level, but at least you have 10 basic questions that are most important to you, your client's processes, and how that fintech is going to fit, or whatever technology stack you're vetting out for your clients or for yourself. Make sure you have that lined up and then use that across the board. And I think that's my final thought.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Chris. You've been great on the show, and I really enjoyed having you here. So let me just finalize this with a few things. One, I'll put in the episode description some additional free resources that you can take advantage of as an accounting professional, different things that we have found over the years or provide as free resources to help you work on your business. Go there to that information in the episode description and see which would interest you most in your current situation. Also, I want to encourage you to join us for GrowCon. This is a live event for accounting professionals to work on your business where we address with the experts the topics that you need to at least consider: marketing and sales, accounting services for you to be able to offer and provide the things that your clients are expecting and needing and allowing you to get paid what you're worth, and then things that you can use such as a tech stack to improve your workflow efficiencies and become more productive and profitable. So check out what it is that you can do to actually attend and join us at GrowCon. And then with regards to the podcast, obviously subscribe if you haven't already. Listen to this. We have episodes coming out each and every week, and I encourage you to listen to past episodes as there are a number of gems there that you'll want to actually pay attention to. We range in topics, and so I'm sure you're going to find a variety of things that are useful to your current situation. As for the principles that we've discussed today and the others that we talk about each and every week, if you'd like to learn more about them and see what it is you can apply these in your business, give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777, or you can visit us at universalaccounting.com. Basically, for more than 40 years, since 1979, we've been working with accounting professionals to ensure that you have the tools, training, coaching, and support to, in fact, build the premier accounting firm in your area. So do take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.